If you're thinking about selling your Toronto property in 2026, you might be making the right move, or you might be making a decision that looks smart today, but quietly puts you further behind once you try to buy again. And the reason has nothing to do with guessing where prices go next. It has everything to do with which market you're actually selling in and which one you're stepping into. Here's what I'm seeing all over Toronto right now. People own a condo or a smaller house. They built equity. They feel like they've done the hard part. Then they start shopping for houses above $1 million, towards two, or maybe even above that. And suddenly, things don't line up the way they expected. The payment feels heavier. The options feel worse. And that confidence they had as a seller disappears as soon as they switch roles and become a buyer. That disconnect isn't random. It's telling you something important about the market you're in. Toronto is not one market. Condos don't behave like houses. Smaller houses don't behave like larger houses. But most people are still making sell decisions as if everything's moving together. Later, I'm going to show you exactly how the market is behaving right now using absorption rates, so you can see where sellers have leverage and where they don't. And once you understand that, the decision to sell, wait, or move forward becomes a lot clearer. 2026 isn't a panic year. It's not a boom year either. It's a sorting year. The risk isn't a sudden crash. The risk is making a move without realizing the gap between what you're selling and what you're buying is quietly shifting underneath you. And when that happens, you don't feel it emotionally. You feel it when you're forced to compromise on location, on size, on renovation quality, or on how much debt you have to take on just to stay in the game. If there's one idea to understand about selling in 2026, it's this. The gap matters more than the price. People celebrate a strong sale price, but selling is only half the transaction. The real question is, what does that sale price allow you to buy next? And that depends entirely on whether the gap between your current home and your next home is getting smaller or wider. So this is where absorption rates, the sold compared to new listing ratio, becomes incredibly important, not as a technical stat, but as a way to understand power. Absorption rate simply tells us how much demand exists compared to supply. Low absorption, buyers have leverage. High absorption, sellers have leverage. And what people miss is that different property types in Toronto can be in completely different absorption ranges at the same time. And that's exactly what's happening right now. Let me share my screen with you and explain this again and show you the different markets that we're in. Okay, what we have here is explaining the different type of markets that we have. This is the sales to new listing ratio, SNLR. And how this is calculated is that they take the amount of new listings that we have on the market and divide it by the number of sales. And that will usually get a percentage. And to get that percentage, and what does the percentage means? If the percentage that you received is above 60%, it's a seller's market. That means a lot of the new listings are getting absorbed and sold. Essentially, seller's market means more buyers and homes, rising prices, fast sales. If that percentage is between 40 to 60%, it's equal supply and demand, very stable, moderate pace. There's not a lot of ups and downs. Neither buyers or sellers have leverage. But if that percentage is below 40%, then there's more homes than buyers. Usually means falling prices or longer sales. And if you're straddling between the different markets, it will be obviously a combination between the two. Okay, let's look at what has happened with the market for condos. So in markets right now for condos, you see that the sold to new listing ratio is 30%. Clearly buyer's market. This is for all of 2025. When you look at the sold to new listing ratio for semi-detached homes, you see that it's at 49%. Balanced market, but trending towards sellers. I'm going to tell you right now, some neighborhoods in Toronto, this percentage is way higher and clearly in seller's market, but we're looking at Toronto as a whole. The most desirable neighborhoods, like let's say the Beach, Leslieville, Junction, High Park, those are still commanding a seller's market. Next, we take a look at detached. You see in detached, it's in a buyer's market trending towards balance. This percentage is much lower than our semi-detached homes. So this reinforced what I was saying earlier, where condo market strong buyer's market, semi-detached market. It is balanced towards seller's market. And the detached properties, they're in a buyer towards a balanced market. So now you can see same city, 3 completely different markets. Let's talk about the most misunderstood move right now, selling a condo to buy a house. A lot of people assume waiting is safer here, that if they just hold on a bit longer, things will improve evenly. But that's not how this market is behaving. Condos are already in a buyer's market, and the pressure hasn't fully worked through yet. The longer you wait to sell a condo or condo townhouse, the more likely is that your selling side weakens before your buying side improves. So just to reiterate, the longer you wait, your selling side is going to get weaker. The buying side, even that stays flat, your gap is widening. And houses aren't dropping at the same speed condos are. So when condo prices drift lower and house prices stayed relatively stable, the gap widens against you. And this is how people end up saying, I waited, but houses feel even further away. Nothing dramatic happened. No crash, no headline, just slow erosion of buying power. In a buyer's market, time doesn't just pass. Time works on the price. Now let's flip the situation. Selling a smaller house to buy a larger one. This is where 2026 actually gives you more breathing room. Smaller freehold homes are sitting in balanced territory, and in some cases, pushing toward seller territory. They're scarce, they're desirable, and buyers are still active. Larger homes, especially the ones towards 2 million and above, are slower. More days on market, more negotiation, more flexibility from sellers, and that creates leverage. In this scenario, waiting isn't automatically bad because your current home isn't under the same downward pressure that condos are. Smaller houses are holding their ground, and larger houses are still working through buyer hesitation. That means time isn't hurting you the same way. You have opportunity. You can watch. You can negotiate. You can move when the gap works in your favor. And this is why I don't answer the question, should I sell in 2026? I use a framework instead. Question 1, what market am I selling in? Is it condo townhouse, semi, detached? Question 2, what market am I buying into? Same segment or different? Question 3, is the gap between those two markets expanding or compressing? If the gap is expanding against you, waiting might hurt. If the gap is compressing in your favor, moving can be smart, even without a perfect market. Selling in 2026 isn't about predicting the future. It's about positioning, understanding where demand is strong, where it's cautious, and whether time is working for you or against you based on the segment you're in. If you're selling, especially in a balanced or buyer-leaning market, presentation matters more than ever. Wait till the end, and I'll share the video of what not to have in your house when you're selling. And watch that next. It directly affects buyer perception in markets like this. So, should you sell your home in 2026? Maybe. But now you're asking the right question. Not what will the market do, but what market am I actually in? And is the gap working for me? And that's how you make a move you don't regret. If you like this video and you want more just like this, where I break down the stats, share great tips, subscribe. Thanks again for watching. See you soon.